Hey, welcome back. This is part 2 of 10 steps to sell your commercial property. There's a lot to talk about here, guys. I had to break this into 2 videos, all right? I hope you just saw the first one. If not, check it out. You're welcome to watch the second half first and then go back to part 1. But definitely check out part 1 because this kind of all plays together. Each one builds off the next one. I just went through the first 5 steps and now I'm gonna hit the next 5. We just got done with the positioning and packaging of the asset, and now what are we doing? We're finally going to market. We're finally going to market, all right? We got this baby ready. We know what the client's trying to achieve. We understand the asset. We know the value of it. We've got a position. We've got a package. Now we go to market. Guys, listen, in commercial real estate, it's not as simple as slapping it on the MLS or maybe a for sale sign and we're done and we're out, right? And the next thing you know, a day later, we've got 20 offers. I wish it was that easy with what we do. Far from it. Okay, commercial real estate is a much slower process than residential real estate. It just is. I mean, it's complicated and the process itself is just longer. But also the going to market, there's more to it. Why? We don't have just the MLS. We work off the MLS, that's for sure. In fact, here in our marketplace, on our MLS, we have a really good commercial side and a very good land side. So we play over there. Of course, we don't sell houses and we don't sell small residential multifamily stuff because we're really commercial investment people. We're on the MLS and CoStar and LoopNet and Mincar and Crexi and Bravadis. Our website, resultscommercial.com, it's amazing how much traffic we get and then how much it gets syndicated out to the marketplace on websites all over the place, you guys, okay? But the bottom line here is that, well, we have staff people and their job is to make sure that once it's properly packaged, it goes out on all the websites. I spend a lot of money on this stuff. It's interesting when I'll talk to people and they'll say, you know, Mark, I spoke to my broker and it doesn't seem like they do everything you do, but they said they don't need to. They said they don't need to be on this database and they don't need to be on that database, that it's a waste of time. And of course, I can only kind of grin. Why? Because, well, I know better. And what are they doing? They don't want to spend the money, all right? They don't want to spend the money on the marketing. And I just got done telling you guys that, you know, we're kind of this hybrid between marketing experts and real estate experts. And that's what we are when we're a listing broker, because we got to get this out, package up this asset, and take it to the market to maximize our equity. So when I hear things like, yeah, my broker doesn't think we need to do that, I go, well, that's fine. You know, you pick the best broker. That's going to be your decision. But I'm here to tell you that I always want to get my sellers' properties to the biggest audience. I just do. Now, are there times or circumstances where maybe, you know what, we're going to do something off market or we're going to take a shorter route versus this big route? Sure. There's all kinds of circumstances that might play into that. But 9 times out of 10, we want to make sure it's getting the most exposure as we go to market. So the 7th step is touring. Okay, so touring. Listen, when you sell houses, it's kind of, I look at that and go, I mean, you guys get to go put a lockbox on the property and everybody goes and they put their little code in or their little electronic thing, they get the key and they go in there. Not that way in commercial real estate, okay? 9 out of 10 or more, we tour. We provide the tour for the property. What does that mean? We don't slap a lockbox on the property and just send people over. No, we actually sell the property. We actually go over and we meet the buyer, we meet the other broker for the buyer, we give them a tour of the property. We make sure, have you seen the offering memorandum? Did you guys see the floor plans? Do you understand the zoning? Do you understand the capital improvements that are going to be required for this property? I want to make sure they understand everything. I want a knowledgeable buying party on the other side. Makes my job a lot easier, okay? I want them to understand everything about this. Don't come back to me and ask me a bunch of questions later. I want to tell you what we got here right now. Ask me the questions, let's satisfy this. You can then make a good buying decision. Do you want in or not at this point? Touring is really important. Every tour requires setting up an appointment. We have to qualify who we're touring. We don't just tour anybody. You don't just call up our office and go, hey, Mark, I want to see that building at 2 o'clock today. And we go, yeah. Let's go. No, that would be crazy. We got to make sure whoever we're touring is qualified to tour. Do you understand the property? Are you qualified as a buyer? Are you using a lender? Are you paying cash? Maybe you're part of a 1031 tax exchange. These are all things that we want to know before we set up a tour. Why? My sellers want to know. My sellers need to know. Who's going through my property, right? They want to know this stuff. Are we wasting time taking a daycare through a piece of real estate that could never be a daycare? That would be foolish. We don't do that. We make sure that there's a proper use with a good qualified party, and then we take the person through. Now, when we're dealing with another broker, Minneapolis, St. Paul, we know each other. All of us that do business, we know each other here. So when a broker calls me up and says, hey, Mark, it's Eric. Listen, can I get through your property Thursday at 10 a.m.? I can trust in Eric because I know he's a good commercial broker, right? That's all he does. He sells commercial real estate. So it's a whole different kind of a ball game when we're dealing with someone that we do deals with and we know that they know what they're doing. So it's kind of interesting, that little nuance to all of this. Okay, guys, so listen, the next step in 10 steps to sell your commercial property, right? We've got it all packaged up. We've done the marketing. We've done the touring. We have a purchase agreement. Yay, we got a purchase agreement. So we got to negotiate, right? So it's interesting because a lot of people think they're really super good negotiators. In fact, even in my industry, and I don't want to, cut anybody off at the knees here, but sometimes I look at people like, you're more order takers than you are negotiators. In fact, I watch some of the TV shows about my industry and I go, you're not negotiating, you're just taking some order and you're just parroting back on the phone to somebody. Negotiating, there is an art to negotiation, okay? Commercial real estate, commercial investment real estate negotiations can get tricky. They can get a little bit hairy. They're not for the faint of heart. This is a game. And you want to make sure that whoever's playing this game for you knows it well. Now, we're net lease people. Net lease investments, guys, that's selling that Arby's or that Walgreens or Starbucks coffee. It's a specialized area within commercial investment real estate. If you're gonna play there, you better know the game. It's a lot different than selling an average office building or a retail strip center or a multifamily building. Each of these have their own unique circumstances around them. And so someone that just says, well, yeah, I work in real estate. Sure, I can sell your retail building. No, goodness no. If you don't understand the client's objective, how can you properly negotiate, right? Because if I have someone who's very motivated, maybe they're in the process of a divorce or death, and this is not the time to go play hardball. This is the time to get this thing done, all right? It's the time to get this baby wrapped up. It's not the time to stretch it out and have a bunch of long extensions. We got to get this thing done. We got to get it done now because my number one job is to meet my client's objective. And negotiation plays directly into that. If I know my client says, Mark, I'm not in a hurry, I got 3 years, I might be able to negotiate a little bit differently. I'll tell you what though, when you're a client and you're interviewing brokers, it doesn't take too long to probably start to realize, like, do I think that person's a good negotiator or not? It's not a real stretch to kind of figure that out. I think someone can sit down with me or somebody on my team and come to realize, like, you know what? These guys might know what they're doing when it comes to negotiating. You kind of learn that early on. Okay, so in my world, in these 10 steps to sell commercial property, guys, this is so important because this is where the deal can get away from you. All right, this is where you can start to lose track of things, is during this due diligence management piece. Management of the due diligence process. This is so important. You got your purchase agreement, you open escrow, you got your earnest money deposit, you've ordered your title commitment, and now we commence due diligence, right? So often now, what are we doing? What's our first steps in due diligence? Did we get a phase 1 ordered? Is it a cash deal? Is it a contract for deed? Is there a lender involved? If there's a lender involved, I know I'm going to probably need a phase 1. If it's a standard office, retail, industrial, I'm going to need to get into a phase 1 environmental study and quite possibly move into a phase 2. We don't get all excited with the purchase agreement and then sit around for a week or two and then say, you know what, that's right, I got that deal going. What do I need to do on it? Oh, goodness no. You'll be in a pickle. Why? Because the clock is ticking. That final acceptance date when both parties sign and it gets delivered, the clock is ticking. That's the due diligence management. That's where the broker must be on top of this thing and make sure that they're managing every step of this. Do we need a survey? Is it a certified survey? Is it an ALTA survey? Do we need a phase 1? Might we be going to a phase 2? What would be the potential mitigation if we get into a phase 2 and the costs associated? And who's going to pay for that? Is there a CUP, a conditional use permit attached to this? When's that application being made? But hang on, do we do the application first, then the environmental? But what about the appraisal? Should we order the appraisal before the CUP application? You get my point, right? A lot of moving pieces here, you guys. There's a lot of pieces to figure out. This isn't like, well, we just get an inspection, we get an appraisal, we're out, we're done. No. There's a lot to it. So many times there's all these different steps in our due diligence, and some things must come before the next ones. So that means your timelines must match that up as well, right? I can't say to a lender, I expect to have your written statement, clear to close letter. I can't expect to get your written statement in here 30 days later. We won't even be done with the phase 1 yet. You probably won't even order an appraisal until we're through the environmental reports. But yet, let's get the survey done, let's start the environmental, let's get everything else teed up so this can all follow in a really logical path. That's the due diligence management process. Finally, thanks for hanging with me, you guys. Finally, we're on step number 10 on 10 steps to sell your commercial property. Closing and funding, right? Before we get too doggone excited here, that, hey, where's the check, where's the money? Okay, we got some other things we gotta take care of here. We have to reconcile, but we have to take care of title. Now, again, I just talked about due diligence being a little bit dry. Well, title is not the most exciting thing in the whole wide world either, but if you don't have a marketable title, you don't have anything to buy. So we better get to a marketable title. That's why we get the title commitment done, like from the very first moment we get the purchase agreement, we order the title commitment, because without a good, clean commitment, we can't get to a title policy for the buyer. If there's any clouds on that title, if there's any bad liens. Okay, like the IRS could have a lien on a title for unpaid income taxes, not property taxes, income taxes. Well, do you think when a title company has to try to clear something up like that it takes a week or two? Of course not. It's a horrible process. And so we want to know really early on what we're up against with title. This is where sloppiness and being haphazard in this process can really come to get you. When we come to discover there are title problems right before closing. It really shouldn't happen, you guys. That shouldn't happen. If there are going to be title issues, we really need to know about it sooner, because we've got to get to marketable title to convey the piece of real estate is what we must do. So let's not underestimate title and all the pieces that go with the title process. I'll tell you what, we're lucky here in Minnesota because we happen to be in a market of some really sharp people that work within the title business. They do a really spectacular job. You want to talk about problem solving? This is one of the areas of real estate where there's a whole lot of problem solving is on the title side. We're typically dealing with attorneys. It might be that somebody passed away 3 owners ago and there wasn't a proper death certificate or a satisfaction of the mortgage. And the next thing you know, it's like, well, why is this showing up now? This shouldn't show up now. It's not even a matter of a question like, should it show up now? It's showing up now, and we have to clear it up, because if we don't clear it up, we're not moving forward to the next final step of funding and disbursements of the funding. So guys, a good broker hopefully is making all this seem kind of an easy process. That's what we like to do. I tell my listing clients, listen, you're not the expert, I am. It's my job to make this easy for you, as easy as I can. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It is what it is. If we're dealing with an issue, a problem, or a challenge, we're gonna take it on, but it's my job to solve it. That is my job. That's what I get paid to do. So listen, the funding is the final piece of it. But you know what I tell all my clients from the point of sitting down to listing? Nowhere along the way should any of us get very excited until we walk out of closing. Okay, that's when we can start to feel a little bit excited that we've got this baby funded now. We're done, we got ourselves there. We're at the finish line. Congratulations to everybody, woohoo! So listen, I hope this helps you. I appreciate you hanging with me. This is kind of a long video, the 10 steps to sell your commercial property, but now you've got some notes, so when you're interviewing your agents and your brokers trying to figure out who's the best fit for you, these are some of the things you can be thinking about. Ask these questions. These are really smart, good questions to ask your broker or your agent to make sure you've got a good qualified broker to work on your behalf. Thanks for being with me. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Listen, reach out to me with questions. I love to hear from you. Give me your comments. You can like our video, you can dislike it, you can agree with me, you can not agree. That's all okay with me, okay? I love your feedback and I love your questions. I don't care where you are, Hawaii, California, Switzerland, Europe, it doesn't make any difference where you're at. I get people reaching out to me from all over the place and I love it. I love it so much. If I can help you, that's what I'm here for. resultscommercial.com. But gosh, guys, I hope you take a look at the content on our YouTube channel. I hope you'll consider subscribing, but I appreciate you watching this video today. Thank you so much.